The rapacious Japanese had invaded our fatherland in their fiendish hope that they would conquer and enslave the Korean people, thrusting guns and knives everywhere. Innumerable brethren thus died in bitter agony and resentment. The Japanese had sucked every drop of blood of our people, unmasking their true nature of vampires. Gone with the racial resentment were our hopes, our homes, and our land. Patriotic comrades were fleeing from these imperialists and from their own land and homes to unknown, unfamiliar, and unwelcome countries. Above all these tragic things, the saddest memory of our people was the day Korea was sold to the Japanese emperor by Lee Wan-young and Song Byung-jun, the running dogs of Jap imperialists, the day of 29 August 1910. First, the Oriental Colonization Company was established as an instrument of exploitation. Now everything was set up to sweat the farmers and the laborers of Korea. Wherever they exploited, the best piece of land was always theirs. Wherever they were, they acted as if they were the actual owners of our land, utilized as their running dogs in their fiendish exploitation were the greedy, pro-capitalistic, and feudalistic native landowners. Streets were filled with unknowing sounds of wooden clocks, the typical examples of barbaric Jap civilization. Worn and tired, poor people were losing their hopes every day. It certainly was a matter of everyday occurrence to note innumerable people collapse with hunger in open streets after having worked like animals under the Japs' sweating system. Crops grown on the forefathers' land were taken away as soon as they were harvested. Abundant or lean, rich or poor, what was left was just their hunger. They had thus taken away millions of tons of rice annually, for which Korean farmers worked so hard, starving and sweating, cutting down all the trees in forests, digging out all natural resources. They had also taken away exhaustible treasures of Korea, such as gold, silver, copper, iron, and coal. They had not even left innocent youngsters alone. Vast numbers of Korean youths, both men and women, were compelled to help produce their tools of world conquest in factories which looked like prisons and which were built, in fact, very much like prisons. Many died, or at least fainted, losing their strength. Sons and daughters of our land thus were forced to be put into slave labor, left to choose either death or the march to death. How many sons of our land died, God only knows. Let us remind ourselves of this horrible death march. Remember the sorrow we experienced under their colonization policy. We must not forget these memories ever. Do you remember how the Jap imperialists used Kim Sung-soo as their tool of conscripting Korean youth? As a result of Kim's cooperation with the Jap imperialists, many had to leave their beloved homeland for their dreadful destinations just to die in vain. Did not they tearfully promise their mothers they would return? But the boys were dying in unknown dense forests, looking at dark skies. Mortal agony begins, and soon images of their mothers and lovers disappear. All the sound he could hear now is perhaps roar of cannons, which seems to be urging their death. Oh, what a tragedy! Ownership of the land changed, but the racial spirit was still there. Once the students of Gwangju High School sprang up with desperate courage. The racial movement toward independence was spreading like a prairie fire all over the country, receiving help from all the patriots abroad or inland. But the Japs and their running dogs captured many of our patriots at random, torturing them in an inconceivably horrible way, and finally killing them by inches under the pretext of non-existing convictions. Rain or shine, the movement of patriotic comrades was expanding beyond measure, leading to mass murders, false accusations, and warrantless arrests of many comrades. Agonizing groans of patriotic revolutionists could be heard everywhere, but the fate of Jap warmongers was at the 11th hour. Having defeated fascist Italy and Nazi Germany in Europe, our comrades' army of democratic peoples, the Soviet Union, came to liberate our people. The war was finally declared by the Comrade Soviet upon our enemy Japan. The gangsters of Jap's army were miserably beaten by the forces of justice, the mighty Soviet army, and the dark age of our history, and suddenly disappeared, welcoming the dawn of a new era. Soviet army, their pursuit of peace, crashed open the gates of prisons, liberating patriotic revolutionists of our land. The welcoming roar of the people thundered with joy. Facing the historical day of liberation, proud flags of Korea fluttered with freshness. The roar of joy thundered together with the flapping colors of our proud land. The proofs of guilt of the Jap warmongers was clear, and the moment of the last judgment had finally come. The disgraceful stain on our history was about to vanish, and the proudly liberated people was stepping forward to become the owners of this new era, having completely secured the foundations of freedom, peace, and happiness. Also, the Triple Conference of Foreign Ministers in Moscow was the decisive step to guarantee Korea's independence. Chungman Rhee, the betrayer of our countrymen, plotted against this decision. He hoped to rebuild the imperialistic empire. Therefore, both Russo-American Joint Conference failed. He and his groups were plotting for the establishment of a puppet government. In order to carry out their machination, they issued mobilization orders to the South Korean police and the terrorist groups. Seoul City appeared to be somewhat like a place under martial law. Nothing has changed in South Korea but the flag. Now the Jap flag is replaced by the stars and the stripes. It is all because of Chungman Rhee and his terrorists. The United States uses them in their colonial policy of exploiting the Korean people. The signboard of the old Jap Oriental Colonization Company now reads, the New Korea Company. They are not only confiscating fruitful year's harvests, but insisting on taking seeds reserved for the future sowing. Daily food supplies have to be rationed. This is enforced by the police and the terrorist power. They are more brutal than the former Japs. With bitter resentment, all these poor farmers could do is just gaze at their empty rice barrels. Moreover, American capitalists who now replace old Japs are doing as exactly as the old Japs were. They now act as if they were owners of this land like old Japs. They are chasing entertainment night and day, prowling about streets to hunt what they should not do. Laborers out of work can be seen in every corner of Seoul's streets, and people gossip for the incredible depression. Days are spent superstitiously without any hope. And worst of all, gambling is going on right in open streets. All they talk about is the bread of tomorrow, and the people visit foolish fortune tellers in hope of finding the lucky card for gambling. All that increases in Seoul is the number of peddling merchants who sit up all day trying to sell without much success. In contrast, treacherous profiteers and double-dealing racketeers are running their bribing plots entirely disregarding the independence of our fatherland. Former bomb shelters are now filled with poor working families. Without proper shelters, these hunger-ridden families of South Korea have to lead lives in slums. The prospect of these people is a miserable life of utter destitution. Even their lives in slums are insecure because of the South Korean police. Whenever they are found living in air trenches, they are instantly driven out of their only shelters. Where can they go now? They have no more shelter to keep off the cold. Moreover, they are severely tortured by infectious diseases. All they could do is just gasp out a few words for water to cool their feverish throats. All the factories in South Korea are closed so that the American imperialists can sell U.S. manufactured goods to South Koreans. They have not only demolished the factories, but have also destroyed machines, thus completely wiping out South Korean industries. This will eventually lead to a ruin of unemployed laborers. What are these tired downhill cats doing? The so-called Women's National Party is actually a congregation of leisured madams whose major objects lie in immoral scheme or having obscene and carnal affairs with racketeer groups. Streets of Seoul become murderous playgrounds at night. They have unmasked their true nature to sell our beloved land and to betray our patriots. Mass murder of patriotic comrades is being carried out in dark night streets. Patriots who fought against projects and betrayers of the nation for the freedom and independence of the people have always sought for the real unification of Korea, shouting aloud that simultaneous withdrawal of both the Soviet and the U.S. Army be instantly done. But what have they gotten for their patriotism? They were captured, tortured, and finally killed without our knowing the scores. How they were tortured and killed is just beyond any words to express. Brutal torture was given the patriots not only in basements, usual hideouts of terrorists, but in open streets as well. Terrorists of Seungman-ri tie victims to an automobile and drag them along one street after another, after having tortured the victim until he is practically dead. They can't live without torturing someone or tasting blood of some patriot. Let us have a good look at these bloodthirsty terrorists. Let us take a second look at this murderous hell. The horrible torture usually takes place at Songhak Mountain, Kaesong. This victim opposed the establishment of an isolated government. The entire mountain is full of rotting odor of corpse. Their dismal eyes sparkle occasionally as if their resentful spirits could never repose in peace. Only the chatter of crowds is heard. This is South Korea today. The victims' noble souls are truly dedicated to the unity and independence of our fatherland. Shall we let these terrorists get away with these murders? Who in the world, I'm asking you, would not fight against these puppet groups? Here I am determined to fight against them, and my fighting spirit boils like volcanic fire. The time has now come to punish these warmongers who are the enemy of the people. People of patriotic passion, stand up. The time is here. Everyone, everywhere in South Korea is holding the torches. We will now march and join them. The liberated people, deeply moved by great Marshal Stalin, who had rescued the enchained people of Korea, was shedding tears of gratitude, eagerly awaiting the arrival of comrades, the Soviet army, at the station. Oh, glorious North Korea, where our comrade, the Soviet Army, is stationed. Oh, wonderful North Korea, where we established our democratic and free government. With the sparkling capital of Pyongyang, democratic North Korea marches to look forward to establishing real democracy and independence of our fatherland under the profound 20-point political program proposed by our great Premier Kim Il-sung. With long-cherished desires proven and deep-harbored resentments gone, our Premier speaks, we should be united at once so that we would be able to establish a deep and solid foundation on which our unified land will be built. We promised we would accomplish victorious establishments, and we shed tears of gratitude to the joyful spring of happiness and freedom. Our people, under the new social system, has eagerly forgotten the days of the feudalistic tenancy system enforced by Jap Emperor, and our farmers are busy building rich farming villages and at the same time improving their living standards. Abundant crops are being harvested, and our farmers look greatly delighted as they contribute some of their year's fruits to their beloved fatherland. Look at those herds of sheep as they prowl about in the field. They look like floating clouds in the blue summer sky. All this adds up to the beautiful early summer scenes of paradise North Korea. Cattle such as sheep, goats, cows, pigs, etc. became generative power of national economy after having secured people's living standard. Motive power of North Korea's industrial development are the 7 stations such as Jangjin, Hocheon, Bujeon, Hwacheon, and Supung, the mightiest of all. Inexhaustible potential resources can be found everywhere in North Korea. Gold, silver, copper, iron, graphite, and other important minerals are dug out continuously. The Japs destroyed most of North Korea's industrial facilities as they withdrew from our land. But these damaged plants have been repaired by our engineers and laborers who devoted themselves voluntarily to their beloved fatherland. Iron and steel works have also been repaired. Blast furnaces in Nampo, Gangsan, Hungnam, and Cheongjin are now in active operation. The happy populace is singing loud the praises of North Korea. Factories compete with one another for production goals set by the working class government. They put out machines, farming tools, and commodities as well as munitions. In Hungnam factories, engineers and laborers, forgetful of their health, work day and night to manufacture fertilizers for North Korea's farming. And this mass-produced fertilizer increases farm production. Despite the fact that everything lacked in material parts at an earlier period after liberation, our laborers have made possible the miraculous development of communication and transportation. Although their skills were not sufficient, their originality and ingenuity supplements their achievement. It was they who made possible the building of rising power in our own shipyard with our own technique. Though it may seem unimportant, rafts floating down the river take significant part in the long-range projects of people's democratic construction. Buildings will be built with lumber made out of these rafts, and so will be the chairs and desks for schoolboys. The paper industry of North Korea is the best among Oriental countries. Tremendous amounts of paper are produced. This makes possible various publications which contribute greatly to the development of the democratic culture. Sericulture has long been a specialty of Korea, and the raw material of silk comes mainly from silk growing. The Japs had completely destroyed the textile industry. But look now, textile industry of North Korea has already been restored to its original standard and possibly better. There are many salt fields, including the one in Gwangyang Bay. Enough quantity is being produced to meet the demands of the edible and chemical raw materials. Also manufactured are soap, candles, chemicals, and china. Children are largely participating in educational enlightenment programs which would achieve a marvelous cultural development. They are practicing industriously in their respective fields of art. The 8-hour labor schedule has been enforced by our labor laws. Labor insurance gives workers security and courage. Annually, tens of thousands of laborers are given the privilege of visiting places of scenic beauty and historical relics, of choosing one of 141 recreation centers and 63 nerve-resting forums. We have even provided workers with 6 sanatoriums where they could receive fine treatment. Such provisions for laborers of the People's Front constantly encourage them to look forward to working harder than ever. Thus, the people of North Korea work in an agreeable, pleasant, and fine atmosphere which could only be offered by the establishment of democratic revolution. Women in North Korea, whose firm belief in the past had been to observe feudalistic remnants, have been given equal opportunities. And now mothers and daughters of this land can bravely look forward to seeking individual rights. Women are largely participating in every branch of the government and social functions. Among these women workers, 9,488 are People's Committee members, 34 Congress members, 634 Judiciary Organization workers, and 9,000 general employees. It is remarkable to notice the splendid victory achieved in our educational program in the establishment of Kim Il-sung University, the School of Veterans Dependents, and other institutions. The entire educational structure is being marvelously facilitated through the People's Republic. Among these democratic educational institutions are 3,000 primary schools, 554 high schools, 54 colleges, and 6 major universities. The musical education of North Korea gives full privilege even to large number of laborers. Laborers singing praises of North Korea's democratic victory can enjoy this recreation program deeply, discussing art of music with another. Special efforts have been paid to promote our film industry. Great Kim Il-sung Location Center is especially equipped with all the modern facilities of science. The National Moving Picture Association has been established, and our great artists working for the association are trying their very best to develop fine national arts through this industry, forgetful of their time and labor. Intellectuals of North Korea are calling for the enlightenment of all through magazines and newspapers to promote science and art. Numerous works of our artists are encouraging younger generations to create originality as well as perfect art. Athletic contests held by various social organizations greatly promote health of the nation. democratic construction of North Korea is an ominous promise to remove the artificial line of the 38th parallel. Our efforts will soon establish the unification of this land under the banner of the People's Republic. Under the great leadership of our hero, General Kim Il-sung, we now can look forward to establishing the prosperous nation whose self-respect would achieve ultimate victory of our people. Comrades in South Korea are willingly responding to our call to drive out reactionary circles. Let us annihilate the imperialistic reactionary groups whose consistent plot would force us to live in this divided land. Let us punish betrayers of nation, Seungman-Rui groups by the law of the people. The great populace of 30 millions now marches forward to secure national independence and freedom. Long live our People's Republic of Korea. Long live our mighty leader, General Kim Il-sung.